All right, so welcome to Midnight Eden, everybody. This is episode 5, and we're going to talk about how to keep temptation out of your marriage, right? Why, why are you shaking your shoulders?
Temptation.
What does that have to do with temptation?
It's tempting you.
That's not tempting me. You look like you're getting ready to have a stroke. Look,
Oh.
let's go ahead and pray. Come here. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for this day. Please help us to please help my wife's shoulders. And please help us to say what we need to say and not say what we don't need to say. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So this is really based off of a question that we received. And what was that question?
Does your marriage have any room for friendships of the opposite sex?
I felt like it was shorter than that.
It was. I forgot it, so I
Okay.
improvised a little bit, but it was around that.
Okay.
Same thing.
So how do you feel about that? Question. 2 questions. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that before we got married? And how do you feel about that now?
Oh, that's 2 completely different people, because before we got married, I had all the guys as friends.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm just. That's
you
what
did.
it was.
No, you didn't. That was a problem.
It was a problem, and you
That was
had
a
all
problem.
the girls as friends.
And that was a
That
problem.
was also a problem. So yeah, for me, like in high school, I was mostly friends with girls, like had a mixed group of
Yeah.
friends. Then college, it turned into me hanging out mostly with guys. But yeah, I could see the problem with that. And then as a married woman, no, we're not doing that.
So when you were dating, it was hard for both of us, I think.
When I was dating, or when we were
When we were dating. It was difficult because remember I met you through my best friend who was,
Mm-hmm.
a female, and but we, I think after the first year of me and you being together, me and her kind of drifted apart anyway. So that was different. But then I had other female friends, and you had a lot of male friends. That was just that's college, right?
Yeah, that's where I was in that point of my life.
Yeah, right. Same. But I think even then I realized I'm like,
This is messy.
yeah, because it could get messy.
Yeah.
Because for guys, and I can only speak for guys.
If you're a decent guy and you're friends with a lot of girls, the girls are gonna catch feelings.
Well, this is really what I'm saying. If you're a guy and you have friends that are girls, you're probably attracted to them, and that's just honesty.
That part.
Yeah. Now I don't know, like for women, what is it that attracts a man as a friend to y'all?
Oh, he's like a brother.
I used to hate
yeah.
that. I used to hate that whole. Oh,
He's
this is
different
my brother.
than other guys.
I'm
blah
like,
blah blah.
Your brother, please tell your brother to put a shirt on. Got abs, and he's sweating and glistening. Like, put your shirt on, brother.
That's true.
So
yeah, for
Brother.
women or
Yeah.
for girls in that age,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you have to be attracted to somebody for them to be your friend.
Somebody that listens to you, somebody that makes you feel comfortable,
Yeah.
right? Makes you feel good,
Mm-hmm.
right? For guys, it's we're, for the most part, I'm not going to say for every guy. I can't speak for every guy, but I'm saying for the most part, if you're our friend, that's because we are attracted to you, and then we get to know you. And it's like, oh, she's really cool too, So it can become messy because you can get really, really close, but that's before marriage, right? So, it is different because I would never tell, anyone, hey, stop being friends with anyone because you're not married yet. What would you say?
It's just speaking from experience.
Right.
I think I did need that phase in my life,
Mhm.
but I was very immature in it. If you and your boyfriend decide that that's something that you both are comfortable with,
Mhm.
I think you both have to be very aware of perception. I mean, I know like this generation, people are telling you don't care what other people think.
Yeah.
To some degree, you have to, because out of respect to your significant other, you have to make sure that you're not doing things that somebody else who's watching can misconstrue. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
And I definitely felt like that happened to me a few times,
Yeah.
you know? And I think it got back to you a few times.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's
And I'd be like, I told him where I am tonight,
right.
but still, it's just this perception, and then
Yeah.
it doesn't look good on you. It doesn't look good on me. I regret how it made you feel sometimes. I regret how it made us look sometimes.
Yeah.
I don't regret going through that because I had to experience that to understand now as a married woman about perception and the importance of that and protecting what you have.
Yes. Agreed. And, because think about this, right? If I have a best friend that's a girl and I'm dating you, this is even before marriage. These are things I wish I knew before marriage. But I have a best friend, but I'm dating you, but she's my best friend, but I'm dating you. How do you feel about me having someone else that I call best friend, but I'm dating you? And in college, let's be honest, we're dating most of us with the potential of marriage, of wanting to get married, right? But I'm keeping this person around because I feel like, I don't want to lose her, but I'm dating you. The lines really get crossed. The lines really get blurred. And then what happens is, if you keep those same relationships in the marriage, I've seen it. I remember reading this article, and I think me and you discussed this, where, this guy had a friend, and they were friends going into marriage, and
A friend of the opposite sex.
right, a friend of the opposite sex, and they ended up cheating. He ended up cheating on his wife, and he ended up, cheating with that same friend, right? And he didn't mean to at first. Nobody ever means to, right? But that's what temptation does. You don't mean to. Temptation is just like that first level, right? You think it. That's why you have to always be aware, especially guys. Fellas, we have to always be aware because it's there. We are very physical creatures. We are physical creatures. So we have to always be aware of what we're doing and where we're going. And he wasn't aware. He kind of lost his guard. He let his guard down. And one thing led to another. And the next thing you know, they got intimate with each other. And he lost his wife. And all of that can be avoided. All of that can be avoided. So how do you think we can avoid this thing, this world where temptation is everywhere?
When it comes specifically towards friends of the opposite sex, my mantra, and I think your mantra, is if they're my friend, they're your friend.
It has to be.
And for people who maybe you came into marriage with a friend that you've had since you were 6, you guys went to kindergarten, first grade together, that's fine. But now that friend is going to be your husband's friend too.
And y'all can never go anywhere alone. You can never be on the phone talking and texting alone. All of that ceases.
Yeah, it changed. Everything changed.
Because it has to.
Yeah.
Because it has to. So I can't imagine really us being married and then you texting your friend just because y'all have been friends for a long time. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine that. So we have to protect ourselves from this because temptation creeps up on you. And this is what temptation does. Like the word tells us about it, right? It says, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. So we're drawn away by the lust within us. Anyway, it's us that draws ourselves away. It's nothing else. Then when lust hath conceived, it bringeth forth sin, and sin, when it's finished, bringeth forth death. So let me kind of expound on that a little bit. First of all, this is what I didn't know. Temptation is not a sin. I didn't know that until I started reading the Bible. Temptation is not a sin. It's the behavior that follows it.
That's a very good point.
Yeah. A lot of people think
even Jesus was tempted.
Even Jesus was tempted. As a matter of fact, he was led into the wilderness
to be tempted
by the Holy Spirit to be tempted. So when I was reading the word, it was talking about how temptation is a good thing. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Being tested is good? Yeah, it is good. It means that you're supposed to be prepared for that test. It's just like in school when the teacher's giving you a test. Well, they've prepared you for that test, right? Now, whether you pass or fail is based on whether you've comprehended the knowledge enough to be able to apply it at the moment. But if you aren't aware of these things when temptation comes, I mean, it says it right here, and most of us can attest to this. It says when it's conceived, it brings forth sin, and sin, when it's finished, see, it has the finish. Once it's finished, it's like the devil leaves you alone. It's like he's done with you. Everything is pleasurable in the moment. You know, you're figuring all these things out. Then all of a sudden, when Satan's done with you, he leaves you. And guess what?
He leaves you alone in the darkest pit.
That's something, isn't it? That's something. Like I know people, you know, who are in that pit right now, you know, and they don't know how to get out. You know, because they gave into that temptation. And it's hard not to. It really is. But that's why you have to always be aware. You have to always be aware. And then as men, we have to be intentional. Fellas, we cannot, if we want a successful marriage, we cannot have somebody outside of our wives that's of the opposite sex as our friend. Because what happens when me and you get into an argument? Who do you think I'm going to tell? I'm going to tell the friend.
You bet not.
I'm just saying. I'm going to tell the friend. And then guess what the friend's going to do? The friend's going to comfort me. The friend's going to be on my side, right? And it's like, man, I'm so thankful that I have you to come and talk to, right? So then the friend ends up knowing more than you know.
Yep. The friend knows the most intimate parts of you and your most intimate thoughts.
Absolutely.
There's going to be a lot of people who I think are going to disagree with us on this because they have friends of the opposite sex.
Which,
you know?
I understand. I understand. But I'm just saying, if this Mending Eden is about having a successful marriage, right?
And protecting them.
And protecting. Like, I need to protect you. I need to protect you. It's not me being over you, getting ready to fight everybody. No, protection is me protecting your heart. You know, me protecting your mind, you being able to trust me, right? That's why you have all of the passcodes to my phone. As a matter of fact, my passcodes, I got them from you, right? So
Cheated
you can trust me. Yeah, because I suck at that stuff. So, you know, I got them from you. And it's not me saying, it's not us saying, hey, you can't have friends. No, we're saying protect each other. Right. So if they are a friend and they're that dear to you, then they need to be a family friend. And then they have to understand the boundaries too. As a man, I can't go eat lunch with this person alone. I can't talk on the phone with this person alone. I can't be, you know, texting back and forth all the time unless you know everything about it. You have to know everything about it, right? And if you have access to everything that I have, then that also allows you to trust whatever relationship that is. It's just best for us to know as men that the flesh is weak.
And I actually have to just, for a moment, just say how appreciative I am of our circle of friends.
Yes.
Because
very much so.
I've had like some of my friends who are girls text or call me on the side and say, hey, I need to ask Apollos about something. Is it all right if I text them? And in my mind, it would have been all right anyway.
If they did it because we know the type of character that they have.
And we're all friends anyway. So it's just kind of caused me to take a step back and say, okay, these people that we have chosen to have in our lives, they get it. Yeah.
Family friends, and they want to see us succeed. Mm-hmm. So none of them are gonna, but those are the type of friends that you need, right?
Right.
If I were to ever step out of line on any one of your friends, they would tell you and they would put me in my place. But those are the type of friends that you have to have, but also vice versa too.
Thanks, ladies.
Yeah, no, which is great, but also vice versa. If you have people in your circle that you feel like you cannot leave your wife alone with, they shouldn't be in your circle. Every single one of my guys.
Say that one more time.
I said, if you have people in your circle that you feel like you can't leave your significant other with, they shouldn't be in your circle. They shouldn't be there. Every single guy that I have as a friend, I will be comfortable with me coming here. Let's say that they arrived and I'm not here. I'm comfortable. You know why? because I only talk to people with the same character as myself. I only really deal with men who are following Christ, right? But this is more than just following Christ, it's imitating Christ. And I tell you all the time, what do I say? I said, babe, without Christ, I'm cheating on you. And that sounds so bad. But what that means for me is that I'm thankful that I have Christ, right? I'm thankful that I have somebody that I look to and I say, okay, God, you lead me. I can't do it. I love this woman, but I'm weak. I'm made of flesh. I'm weak. The spirit is willing, right? It says that in the word. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. We battle all the time. So of course I don't want to do anything to hurt you, but I'm weak, babe. So because I'm weak, I need someone who's strong and a lot stronger than me. So I have to depend on Christ. And because of that, I'm always aware and I'm always intentional. And guess what? I don't need more happiness. See, happiness, people don't understand happiness. I'm very happy with my wife and I'm very happy with my family. See, when you're happy, you're content, which means I don't need another family. I'm happy with my wife, so I don't need another wife. But people have to understand what that means and what happiness is. And you really can't understand that until you seek God and you realize I have no idea what I'm doing. So this isn't us saying, hey, guys, you can't have female friends. And hey, ladies, you can't have male friends. I'm saying if you really want to have a successful marriage,
We just gonna all have a big old
absolutely,
circle,
absolutely,
kumbaya friendship.
absolutely. We're saying these boundaries are needed you can't give temptation an ounce of room. You can't. You can't give temptation an ounce of room.
And you kind of touched on the fact that men are very physical.
We are very physical.
Us ladies, I mean, there's some ladies out there who are physical, just as physical as the men are, but for the most part, we are emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have that close friend who you're sharing these deep, intimate conversations with, you are sharing intimate facts about maybe your grievances with something that your husband did. You're leaning on another man's shoulder. You're making room.
I feel like fighting somebody just thinking about that.
You're making room.
Where's he at?
There's nobody.
Okay.
This is purely hypothetical.
Where's he at? Okay.
But you're making room.
Yeah.
You are kind of setting yourself up.
You're opening that door.
Exactly.
You are. And something that I noticed, fellas, and this is what we have to understand, is that when we talk to women, y'all experience what we say. So if there's a woman, and I've experienced this, places where they're dressed nice and everything else, what they want me to say is, oh, you look very beautiful today, right? Because that's opening the door. And she may not hear that stuff at home. And because she doesn't hear it at home and she hears me say it, then she's going to want to hear me say it again. And guess what? Because I'm physical and she is attractive to me, I'm going to want to say it again. And guess what has just happened? A door is just open. See, temptation is thought. Temptation is not action. The sin after temptation is the action part. The thought of it is like, hey, we can fight that, but we need God to fight that, right? But it's the action afterwards. If I come out of my mouth and say it, I know what I'm doing. Like, for guys, we have to be honest with ourselves. We know what we're doing. We know when we're saying something. We know what we intend to say, and we know what we want to get out of it. We know what type of reaction we're looking for. So we have to be intentional, and we have to understand that God is watching us. Right?
And I think it's also important because you made a great point
Mm-hmm.
saying that the act of being tempted is not a sin. But that's also not a gateway to let your mind go crazy.
You can't, because a wandering
Thinking
mind,
about all these scenarios.
a wandering mind is a devil workshop, and that's why you are what you eat.
Right.
You are what you eat. So whatever you allow to come in, you become.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not saying again, hey guys, you can't have friends. See, it's a difference. The world is saying, hey, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want, guys. If you want to have friends and be married and have okay, you know what? You can. However, if you're trying to do it the right way, then you have to understand what that way was, right? And you have to go back to what it was intended, how it was intended to be, right? And in the beginning, it was Adam and Eve, not Adam and Eve, and then Adam's friend Jerry, or whoever. you know. but it was just them. You know what I mean? Like it was just them. It was just them. So we're saying if you want to have a successful marriage, and if you have friends and they mean that much to you, then guess what? They're going to understand and they're going to love you enough to say, hey, I want you to build. And if my presence is stopping you from building that relationship that you need, then I need to remove myself. It becomes about us because you and I are family, not you and I and our friends, me and you are family. And that's what I keep saying. Like the kids are our family, but even they're the extension, right? Because they're gonna one day get up and they're gonna leave. So I have to invest everything in you, and you invest everything in me, right? So we have to create these boundaries to protect each other. I need to protect you. You need to protect me.
And something like this, I just think, before we got married, I didn't realize how many things we had to talk about.
I didn't either.
I just thought you got married and then things just kind of fall into place.
They just happen.
They don't just fall into place, guys. You got to talk about it.
It's a must.
So
Yeah.
if you are new to this marriage thing and you guys haven't talked about that part,
Please talk about it.
talk about it. But also, Christian couples, before you sit down to have those important conversations, pray together.
Mm-hmm.
Pray that your hearts and your minds are open to
Yeah.
receive
Yep. Mm-hmm.
what your spouse has to say to you, and
Absolutely.
that pray that you are able to formulate a words
Absolutely.
in a way that they can receive.
Yep. And that's what Mending Eden is really about. Did you have something else you were going to say?
I forgot.
Your mouth was open.
I know.
You're like,
That means it was right here.
It was
but it's
there?
on. I'll remember later, guys. I'm sorry.
okay.
He knows. He asked because I'm really bad at that.
No. I just wanted to make sure. But that's what Mending Eden is, right? It's about reconnecting with us, but understanding that we can only be successful if we allow God to lead the marriage. And that's why I love what you said, which is pray before you have any of these, any big conversation that you ever have to undertake. Like, you have to pray first. You have to pray first, because if not, then too many human emotions. Okay, what are you laughing at?
If I'm just picturing, if it's one of those conversations that you guys are going in already a little bit heated,
Oh, Lord.
and you have to pray out loud together, it kind of softens it, because it's really hard to pray like, God, dang, this person, right? No,
This woman you gave me.
Like, praying together softens you.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't. You're still human, so you're still gonna have those emotions, but it's
Mhm.
really hard to still hold on to something when you're praying for that other person.
Especially when God is involved,
Mhm.
right? So it's just
Sorry.
about
Sometimes we forget to pray before, so we get a little bit upset, but then we'll like pray it out at the end, and that's funny too.
Yeah,
Like ending a semi-fight conversation
Mhm.
with prayer.
With prayer. Like, it has to start in there. And the thing that we've learned is, by allowing God to be in the forefront of it all, like, things just become easier because we're no longer dependent on ourselves, because we get too emotional. As humans, we're just way too emotional, right? Which is what the world that we're living in is a very emotional world. And when we're emotional, guess what that means? It means we're stuck. It means that we become reactionary. So when we're arguing and we're in an emotional state, everything is about the reaction, right? That's why the Bible is interesting, because it says angry and sin not. So it didn't say anger was a sin, right? It says to sin not after you get angry. So you have to understand what anger can then lead to understand why Christ was saying angry and sin not, right? Because imagine me and you getting into an argument, and let's say I push you or I bump you. Let's say I'm walking past you and I bump you and you fall and hit your head and you pass away, all because I was angry and I couldn't check that emotion, right? And that's why it's so important for us to pray first, to let God remove that, to open our hearts and let God remove any anger, any feelings of resentment or ill will towards our spouse, because we don't want to hurt each other. It's just that moment. So we have to really try to understand these things to have a success. That's really what we want, is to have a successful marriage. The family, everybody can look at it. The family is the cause of everything, right? Having these family environments, it can be the cause of a lot of pain, a lot of hurt, a lot of loneliness, a lot of depression. But the family is also the cure. And if you didn't get that family when you were growing up, guess what God did? He gave you another chance to get it right. I didn't get that when I was growing up. I didn't get those taught. I didn't see my dad sitting down or praying before he had a conversation with my mom about anything. And he was a pastor. So I get a chance to do it right. I get a chance to do it right with my best friend, with the person that I know that I'm going to do life with forever. And we get on each other's nerves. But I promise you, you're the only one that I want to actually get on my nerves. Like, I don't want anybody else to get on my nerves besides you. And I know that
it'd be too much if you had somebody in addition.
In addition?
In addition, because.
Oh, I can't do that. I can't. Look, I'm going to be honest. I don't know how. I remember that show where the guy had 5 wives. How? How?
One is a lot.
One is fellas, one is work. There's too much work just to do one. Well, especially if you're trying to be intentional about it.
4 more of me?
Nah, I'm good. I'm good with one. I'm good with making this work. Nah, I don't want 4 more, but because I'm happy with one. Right. I'm happy, and it's because you put the work in too. It's not just me. In marriage, it can't just be one person. It has to be both of you going all in, and that's how you have a successful marriage. Making sure God is in the forefront, making sure you're praying, y'all are reading the word together, y'all are studying together, and y'all are being intentional about loving each other and protecting each other. We have to just do that, and I promise everyone, if they do that, if they go in every day and they make a decision, you actually taught me about that, the decision, if they make that decision every morning that I'm going to protect this woman, and the woman, I'm going to protect this man today. Guess what? Nobody can penetrate, because in any relationship, you only do what you're allowed to do. You only do what you're allowed to do. So temptation, guess what? You chose that. If you cheat in your marriage, you chose that. Don't blame anybody else. Don't blame God. Don't blame your spouse. No, you chose that. And once we can understand that it's us and we have the power, God has given us the power to choose. That's what free will is, right? The choice between right and wrong. That's the only reason why we know we have free will. In the garden, Adam had the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Why did he have both? Why did God put that tree of knowledge of good and evil in there? Because if he only had one choice to do good, that's not free will. So everything that Adam did after that, everything that Eve did after that, they couldn't blame God. He tried to, but he could only blame himself because he knew. Everybody knows. When you're married, you know what's right, you know what's wrong. If you don't adhere to it, that's on you. You got any last words, babe?
So, no. I'm just
gonna talk
thankful,
to you later.
Grateful, and blessed to be able to have this conversation with you. And if you're a new listener who's new to this marriage game and you guys have not had this conversation, my homework and my challenge to you is sit down with your spouse, see how they feel, and work out a game plan.
Y'all, this is it. We can fix the world, but we have to do it through our families. We can't depend on the government. We can't depend on the church. We can't depend on anybody. We can only depend on God and each other. And I promise you, we can fix everything that's wrong in the world. We can fix it. But it starts with you and I. Thank y'all.
Thank you, guys. We love y'all.
We love y'all. Bye.